It's the
Yeah, I did one with some people at work, but I picked Creighton to win it all. So
shit, and they're out. Don't worry, I picked Kansas, and they got out the fucking
yeah,
first round. So it wasn't good. So I got half. Half of my bracket is still solid, but most of my half of my final fours out. So and so is
yeah,
my champ. So what the fuck's the point? I
yeah,
guess.
exactly. I think I have like 3 out of the 4, but I don't have any. I don't have any
Yeah,
chance of winning any money. It was like $10, so whatever.
yeah, not a big deal. Not a big deal. What hey, I was going to mention opening day, MLB opening day, but you're not a huge baseball fan, which neither am I. I don't really care who wins the World Series or anything. It's just kind of a big sports news, you know.
Yeah, it's true. Lakers we're on like a 4-game lose streak, and then we won last night, so we'll see.
Nice, nice, dude.
Playoffs right around the corner.
Who did the Nuggets play when we went to that Denver Nuggets game? Was it
Mm,
the Lakers?
I don't think so.
I'd have to go through those pictures.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd have to go through the pictures and see, but fun time.
That was a good time. That was a good trip, man. We did
Yeah,
a lot in like
yeah, for
24
sure.
hours, dude. We did a
Yeah,
lot of shit. A
exactly.
lot of cool shit. A lot of cool shit. Denver's a nice place.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's aight. Yeah. I didn't say aight. Well, dude, we're recording. Do you want to get it rolling? Do your intro?
I'll jump into it here.
Let's do it.
Um, all right, and start.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome to the podcast. My name is Jaron, and I'm here with my friend Zach. Zach, say hi.
Hello.
And this is our podcast where we spend an hour of the day discussing, debating, and ultimately ranking movies of a particular genre or category. We are friends who grew up together, love talking about movies, which is why we started this podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
we are just a couple of average jives.
Yep.
We are
That's it.
not critics. We don't claim to be the smartest people ever, but we enjoy talking about movies. We think we're pretty entertaining. And this week for you, we have our top 10 favorite 70s movies.
Yes. Yeah.
And Zach, want to jump right in and get us started?
Yes. Absolutely. Now, just a little disclaimer that we there's going to be a lot of movies probably missing, but I can almost promise that whatever movie we're missing, it'll get covered later on. So just forgive some of the classics that may be missing from our list, but as we've
Yeah,
said, it's our list, so who gives a
it's
shit?
our list. And 70s is a pretty broad topic, and there are a lot of movies. And we made the conscious decision not to add any war movies or sci-fi movies because we're going to
Yep.
cover those in later pods. So yeah, we picked our movies, and if you don't like it, keep listening anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, and trust me, it's some of the movies we are covering are going to get covered again and again.
Yeah,
We don't care.
yeah, we'll
So,
definitely double
fuck it.
dip a few times. And for
Yeah.
the newer listeners out there who don't know the format, Zach and I pick a category. Well, Zach picked the category, and we each pick 5 movies of the category. We each make our own top 10. We spend the week researching and watching these movies. And then during the pod, we will introduce all 10 movies, and then dive right into the debate and select a top 10 that we agree upon.
Yep. That's it. Pretty
Cool.
simple.
Zach, first
Yeah,
movie.
let's do this, man. I'm starting off with a banger. Let's go Jaws,
Mm-hmm.
1975, directed by Steven Spielberg, who at that time of making Jaws had only one other studio picture, the Sugarland Express with Goldie Hawn, but Spielberg was considered Sid Sheinberg's, who was the president of Universal. He was known as his golden boy, I guess. And this was his
Mm-hmm.
first big opportunity. It is based on Peter Benchley's best selling novel, who did his own adaptation, which the studio didn't like. So they brought in Carl Gottlieb, I think that's how you pronounce it, but who was more of a comedy writer, they brought him in kind of to lighten up the screenplay a little bit, which I felt was a good thing because apparently the shark was all over the place, both in the book and in the script. But it is starring Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw. Let's be honest, almost everybody has seen this movie, but I'll do a little
Yeah.
synopsis quick. A police chief, a biologist, and a fisherman seek to destroy a killer great white shark who is terrorizing their small community. I got a nice little, well, it's a nice little uh, comment from a British film critic, David Thompson, who wrote, like Coppola on The Godfather, Spielberg asserts his own role and deftly organized the elements of a roller coaster entertainment without sacrificing inner meanings. The suspense of the picture came from meticulous technique and good humor about its own surgical cutting. You have only to submit to the travesty of Jaws 2 to realize how much more engagingly Spielberg saw the ocean, the pearls, the sinister beauty of the shark, and the vitality of its human opponents. A lot of stuff right there. Fucking British,
Yeah,
dude.
good. And yeah, not a great sequel.
No. Hey, they had. I know David Brown,
Well,
and
it definitely won't make our sequels list, I don't think.
I don't think so either. But hey, you never know. We're kind of odd dudes sometimes. So, but
That's
yeah, go
true.
ahead, Sharon. Yeah,
Um, and that is kind of a segue into my first movie, Godfather 1,
nice.
released in 1972, directed by, as Zach mentioned in that review, Francis Ford Coppola. It stars Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, James Caan, Diane Keaton, and Robert Duvall. Um, Written partly by Coppola, but based off the book, and the screenplay was done by Mario Puzo, who was the author of the book, The
Hmm.
Godfather. It was released, and not great reviews when it first came out. Critics have now since walked back all of their negative reviews of
That's
the movie, and it's now considered one of the best, if not the best movie of all time.
yeah,
And
yeah.
as Zach mentioned with Jaws, I'm sure everybody's seen this movie, but a little bit of about it. Don Corleone, head of one of the biggest crime families in New York, survives an attempted assassination leading to a mob war, and his sons take over the family business. A lot more that you could say about this movie, but that's just a kind of one sentence description of it. Roger Ebert gave it 4 out of 4 stars.
Mhm.
Says follows no formulas except for the classic structure in which power is passed along from generation to generation. And as I mentioned before, he was actually one of the critics who did not enjoy the movie on his first watch.
Yeah,
I searched around for it and I couldn't find his original review, but I think he gave it like 2.5 stars out of 4 or something like that.
yeah.
And then as time has gone on, um, it's on his great movies list and
Mhm,
almost
mhm.
everybody's greatest movies list.
Well,
It did win 3 Oscars for Best Picture, Best Actor, and Best Writing Screenplay. And it has to be noted that Marlon Brando won the award, but actually sent Sachin Littlefeather
yeah,
to the Oscars to decline the award based on how Native Americans are treated in this country.
yeah. That wasn't received very well. Yeah,
No. And then another little tidbit, Al Pacino was upset and actually boycotted the Oscars for a while there because he only received um, a supporting nomination when he felt he had almost as much time on screen as Brando and felt that he should have got a Best Actor nomination.
yeah. He pretty
Um,
damn close. Probably, yeah, for sure.
so, I mean, obviously, we'll talk more about the movies once we get into the debate.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, my turn. Okay, I'm gonna go. My next picture is actually the Last Picture Show from directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who had
Good.
three solid films, 3 films, 3 years in a row. All came with high critical acclaim. I think the other two were What's Up, Doc and Paper Moon. Yeah, they were very solid movies. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any of them, but whatever. The novel and screenplay was written by Larry McMurdy. Most of his novels were based on small towns and westerns like Hud and Lonesome Dove, with similar themes of love and loneliness, which is fitting because he won his Oscar for Brokeback Mountain, which I'll just a quick tidbit. Bogdanovich also co-wrote the script with McMurdy, and it stars a young Tim Bottoms, Jeff Bridges, Sybil Shepherd, and also a younger looking Cloris Leachman who hadn't looked that young since Young Frankenstein. I always remember her in her older roles, I suppose. And
Yeah, definitely. When I saw her on screen, I was like, "Oh, damn, is that Cloris Leachman?"
yeah, yeah.
Didn't
And
recognize her.
also Ben Johnson, who I recognize right away from The Wild Bunch. That's one of my favorite westerns, one of the great westerns, and also Ellen Burstyn, who made The Exorcist a couple years later. Tell a little about the movie. In 1951, a group of high schoolers come of age in a bleak, isolated. Uh, no, sorry, just a North Texas town that is slowly dying both culturally and economically. Apologize for the pause there, but
You are forgiven,
here's a
sir.
little uh, positive review from Gary Arnold of the Washington Post called it an exceedingly well made and involving narrative film with decent aims, encouraging us to understand and care about its characters, though not to emulate them. I think that's all I
I'd say
got
that's
for
fair.
last pictures there. The last picture show.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. Um, and then going on to my second movie, obviously, The Godfather Part Two.
Nice.
Released in 1974, again directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring Al Pacino, Robert Duvall, Diane Keaton, John Cazale. Pretty similar to the first movie, but then added Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Again,
Good
written
performance.
by Francis Ford Coppola and Mario Puzo. Again, everybody has seen this movie, so this is just a one sentence synopsis. Michael Corleone expands the Corleone organization, trying to become legitimate, and also adds in the early life of Don Vito Corleone.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Ebert, again, 4 out of 4 stars, wrote, more than ever, I'm convinced the music is instrumental to the power and emotional effect of these films. And similar to the first Godfather, not well received by critics. And,
Yeah.
looking back and watching it again, going into a movie theater in the 70s, having to sit there for 3.5 hours and try to piece together the storyline with it jumping back and forth in time, I could kind of see how some
Mm-hmm.
critics didn't think that was very groundbreaking, although it ended up being very groundbreaking and, again, arguably one of the best, if not the best movie of all time. It won 6 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, Best Writing, Best Art Set Direction, and Best Music. Um, and notable, Al Pacino did get a Best Actor support or Best Actor nomination, but did not win it.
Yeah. Isn't it one of those things? I think a lot of people felt like they gave part two a lot of Oscars to make up for one not receiving nearly as many because of Cabaret that came out the same year The Godfather did. I think Cabaret won like 7 Oscars or some shit.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
again, I think it kind of boiled down to critics again just being kind of confused when the movie came out and walking out of the theater kind of thinking, what the fuck just happened?
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Going back and watching it though, excellent rewatch and obviously more to talk about as we go.
Yeah, I mean, just a little my two. It took me a long time to rewatch The Godfather Part Two. Actually, where I was in our dude, didn't we kind of saw The Godfather at the same time? Didn't we? Like in high school,
Yeah, I
shortly
think so.
like a year after
What?
I saw Goodfellas, and I'd already been obsessed with Goodfellas, and everybody was like, "Oh man, holy
Yes.
shit! If you like Goodfellas, you got to watch The Godfather." And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I
And I
think I
think
watched. No, go ahead.
us watching it in the early 2000s as we're in high school, we had always heard, yeah, these movies are some of the best ever. And, so going into it, it's already been told to you that it's such a great movie over and over again. I think I kind of went into it with kind of a grain of salt. Like, okay, calm down. Like,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
be the judge.
exactly.
I'll be the judge of how great this movie is. So,
We were even snobs
which is
back
completely
then.
ridiculous. Yeah, but
Oh, dude, we just thought we knew everything back then.
oh,
Fucking
totally.
kids. Yeah. But the next movie on my list is I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore. Sorry, dude. I had to try to do an impression quick.
Oh, there's going to be more coming in Jaws and Godfather. So,
Yeah, dude. It's Network in 1976, directed by Sidney Lumet. I actually read his book a few years ago called Making Movies, which, like I said, was God, I want to say at least 5 years ago. Got to be probably more than that, but he's actually one of the greatest directors to never win an Oscar. You might remember him from 12 Angry Men. That was like his
hmm
first big hit, I believe. And it
yeah,
was actually a tie putting Network on the list. It was tough between uh, this film and Dog Day Afternoon, but I'm not gonna lie, Jern. I've told you this before. I kind of put Network on here for you. You know, I kind of assumed you would like it. It kind of had Jaron James written all over it. So, but
yeah.
speaking of,
I
no, go
definitely
ahead.
have some thoughts on the movie. It was the first time I had watched the movie, although heard about it from several people who told me the same thing. Hey, it, well, we'll talk about it more when we get into it. But yeah, it was a good movie, great movie.
Yeah, you're a big writer guy. And speaking of writers, written by Patty Chayefsky, who's probably one of the most powerful screenwriters in Hollywood history. This guy had final cut. He got to choose the director, the actors, all that good stuff. And I know he wrote everything, wrote for TV, playwrights, and screenplays. And he's actually the only person to have won 3 solo Oscars for both original and adapted screenplays. So, little interesting.
Hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool. But it's starring
Yeah,
William
definitely.
Holden, Faye Dunaway, Peter Finch, and Robert Duvall. It's a tale of television execs who exploit a deranged anchor to sky high ratings, but his message becomes too difficult to control. And Vincent Canby of the New York Times called Network outrageous, brilliantly, cruelly funny, a topical American comedy that confirms Patty Chayefsky's position as a major new American satirist, and a film whose wickedly distorted views of the way television looks, sounds, and indeed is the satirist cardiogram of the hidden heart, not just of television, but also of the society that supports it and is, in turn, supported.
Yeah, and I think it
Yeah,
was
that's all I
a
got.
pretty decent little glimpse into the future of where network television was going and is now kind of ascended to or descended to, if you want to go that way.
It's incredible how well that movie is aged, actually.
Yeah. And Faye Dunaway, great.
Yeah, you do love Faye, that's for sure. And
I do love Faye, and
she got her Oscar for this movie, so good job, Faye
yeah,
Dunaway.
and that is a good segue. We didn't even plan this, people, but
No.
that's a good segue into my next film, Chinatown, released in 1974, directed by Roman Polanski, starring Faye Dunaway, Jack Nicholson, and John Huston. Uh, Written by arguably one of the best screenwriters of all time, certainly of
Yes.
that generation, Robert Towne. Private detective J.J. Gittes is hired to catch a cheating husband, but ends up in a much larger web of lies, corruption, and murder. Roger Ebert gave this movie 4 out of 4 stars, saying it drifts within sight of parody at times, but saves itself by the seriousness of character. And it is on my list because it is a personal top 5 favorite movie of mine. I'm a sucker for murder mysteries, for noir movies,
Which
and
you are.
Jack, it just completely embodies the detective J.J. Gittes, and um, yeah, one of my favorite movies of all time. So it would have been tough for me to leave it off this list, and it only won one Oscar for best
Hmm.
writing,
Yep. Yep, I
but
remember.
74 was a fantastic year for movies, so it's
It was a
kind of
really good year.
understandable.
And again, we did not plan this, but if JJ doesn't have anything else to say, I'm going to go into One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1975, directed by Czechoslovakian director Milos Forman. not only won an Oscar for this film, but also for 1984's Amadeus. The screenplay was by Bob Goldman, who recently passed away in 2003, actually, and Lawrence Haben, I think that's how you pronounce it. And this was actually the only film spec he ever wrote, surprisingly.
Hmm.
Uh, Starring Jack Nicholson, Louise Fletcher, Danny DeVito, Christopher Lloyd, and William Redfield. And William Redfield obviously isn't a well-known actor. He played Harding in the movie, and can I tell a quick story, Jaron, if you don't mind, about
Of course.
Redfield? He played Harding, like I just said. He was the educated sophisticant with the wife problems, but in the middle of shooting, he was actually diagnosed with leukemia, and I'm under the impression that granted the prognosis was pretty bleak, but they gave him the option, obviously, of hey man, if you want to get this treated, it's okay. We'll get it sorted out. We'll just rewrite your stuff. You just go get better. And instead, he elected to stay on and finish the film, and that was kind of a he died shortly before the Oscars, I believe. But
Hmm.
it's one of those sad stories. But shit, his legacy will live on forever, even in that one tiny role. So,
Yeah.
uh,
And he's part of, arguably, again, we've said this multiple times, but one of the greatest movies ever.
yeah, that's true. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is about a societal outsider who plays insane in order to escape prison labor. Once processed, he befriends and inspires his fellow inmates while alienating the staff. Believe it or not, you know how I feel about this movie. I've talked about it a lot recently. I even named my dog Cheswick after this movie, for crying out loud. But
I
it
was
was
going to mention
actually,
that if you didn't.
yeah, it actually wasn't very easy to find a positive review that was easily accessed, I guess. Actually, okay, it was hard to find a actually got a lot of mixed reviews back in the day. So I found this reviewed from Jaren's boy Roger Ebert. Milos Forman's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a film so good in so many of its parts, there's a temptation to forgive it when it goes wrong, but it does go wrong, insisting on making larger points than its story really should carry. So that at the end, the human qualities of the character get lost in the significance of it all. And yet, there are those moments of brilliance. Now, that's another classic Ebert moment. He went back, corrected it, which I couldn't find that review, but he did put it on his great movie list. So,
Yeah. He was known to do that quite often from time to time.
yeah, yeah. Oh, Raj.
He'd have a bad take on a movie, and then it would be celebrated, and he'd go back and say, actually, this was a great movie.
Actually, but yeah, that's all I
Next
got on
on the
Coco's
list,
Nest, brother.
The Long Goodbye, released
Mm-hmm.
in 1973, directed by the great Robert Altman. It stars Elliot Gould, Nina Von Pallant,
Mm-hmm.
Sterling Hayden, and Henry Gibson, who I left off of a previous movie's cast list, but actually played Hyman Roth in Godfather 2. Written by Lee Brackett, probably mispronounced that first name, maybe Leah. Based
It
on the
sounds
book,
right.
based on the book of the same title, Long Goodbye, written by Raymond Chandler. And again, this is a personal favorite of mine because I am a huge fan of the Philip Marlowe novels. The 5-book series is about a private detective named Philip Marlowe who gets in and out of sequences with laughter and seriousness, with murder mixed in there very well. One of my favorite novels of all time. Um, this particular movie is about PI Philip Marlowe helping a friend out on the first night of the movie that heads down a rabbit hole, including locating a missing man and investigating the murder of said friend's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Ebert, again, 4 out of 4 stars, says most of its effect comes from the way it pushes against the genre. The hero can walk down mean streets, see clearly, and tell right from wrong. He also gushes about the book in the review, saying how it is a complete labyrinth. And in the movie, they did have to take out some parts of the book, add some parts to kind of make it work structurally from the missing points of the book. And Yeah, the movie is fantastic. One of my favorites.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, you're not going to be happy where I put it. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Next on my list is The Sting from 1973, directed by George Roy Hill, whose previous hit, Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, also starred Paul Newman and Robert Redford. It was written by David S. Ward, who, you know what other movie he wrote that you and I both love? Major League.
No,
You know, yeah, he
no
also
kidding.
directed that one, but he just it was just the first one, so but
Yeah, the better.
as I mentioned earlier, stars Paul Newman, Robert Redford, and Robert Shaw. A big time con artist and a small time grifter attempt to pull off the biggest con against a wealthy crime boss while the law is on their tail. Variety wrote that George Roy Hill's outstanding direction of David S. Ward's finally crafted a story of multiple deception and surprise ending will delight both mass and class audiences. Extremely handsome production value and a great supporting cast round out the virtues. And that's all I got.
Yeah, a good twist movie, and more to come on that. I'm sure we will have more to say.
Yeah.
And then rounding out our 10 movies, my last movie, Escape from Alcatraz. Now, this, I have to make a note, this barely pushed out Five Easy Pieces, starring Jack Nicholson, one of his best roles, kind of put him on the map. But again, this is our podcast. I
Yeah.
enjoy Escape from Alcatraz a little more because it was one of the first movies I'd ever seen Clint Eastwood. I had a great time watching it as a kid, and it's always kind of stuck with me. So it was
Yeah.
directed by Don Siegel, who also directed Dirty Harry, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it stars Clint Eastwood, Patrick McGowan, and Roberts Blossom with one of my favorite guys because I love the movie Tremors, Fred Ward.
Nice, dude.
Written by Richard Tuggle, based on the book by J. Campbell Bruce of the same name. It is about inmates in Alcatraz that develop a scheme in order to escape the prison no one has ever successfully escaped from. My boy Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars, saying so much good in the film, performances, characters, details of prison life, timing of events leading up to an escape that we realize how rare such craftsmanship really is. And he held back that half a star because, in his opinion, it was kind of a lackluster ending. The escape wasn't very climactic.
No,
And
yeah,
rewatching it, yeah, they're in the dark, they're crawling on the roof, they jump off, and it just kind of leads with some not dialogue, but writing on the screen that says, they searched for hours and they were never to be found. They're considered to be the only ones to successfully escape. So I will kind of agree, it kind of end lacklusterly with how well and how much suspense is built throughout the entire movie. It kind of just falls on its face at the end, and
yeah.
it was not nominated for a single Oscar.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too surprising. It didn't really have
No,
that feel to it, I guess. You know what I
no,
mean?
no, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Definitely.
Definitely
Definitely 20. Definitely. Oh,
not.
shit, man.
So yeah, that is the 10 movies that we are about to put in order, depending on our own likes. And if you disagree, please drop us a like on Facebook or Instagram or Face Mash or whatever
Tube.
you're on that we
Face
released this
mash.
on,
Face
and let us know your thoughts.
nice face
Again,
mash shout out to the
fine,
social
yes.
network, dude. Yeah.
Um, all right, so the next part of the podcast, Zach and I will kind of go through our top 10, starting at the bottom, um, and then we will debate upon where these movies should actually go, coming up with our final list. So you went in the movies first. I will go first and say I put Escape from Alcatraz, number 10.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
I had it higher. I had it, I think, at I had it at 8 is where I had it. Because
Okay.
I mean, just a solid movie, dude. That's what I
Yeah.
wrote. I didn't really write too many. I wrote in my notes. I don't think I've ever wrote this so few of notes before, but that doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. I was actually just watching the movie, and it's just a solid. Just obviously, it has its weak points. You could you can critique it a little bit, but overall, like I said, solid. So I had it at
Yeah.
8, but I can just I can speculate why you put it at. I could see why you put it at 10. Let's put it that way. I'm not
Well,
gonna.
I think the rest of the movies that I chose are just better overall made movies. Um,
Yeah,
Escape from Alcatraz, it sets up the movie nicely, with the warden saying, he's escaped from a few prisons. No one has escaped here and never will. And it kind
yeah,
of, rewatching it, I think Shawshank took a decent amount from this movie, with the new fish, fresh fish line. One of the inmates has a mouse, when in Shawshank, one has a crow. Um, a
yeah.
whimsical, smart black man that kind of helps the main character along. It's just, yeah. But at the end of the day, I think every other movie on our list is just a better overall movie.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
I think the ending is kind of what held me back from, kind of putting it higher on the list. But so if you had that at 8, what were your 9 and 10?
well, I put The Long Goodbye at 10, and just it's not a. I'm not saying by putting it at 10 that it's a bad movie. I hope you're not upset about it, but uh, there's just a lot of stuff in The Long Goodbye that kind of like grinded my gears. I guess like lighting the match with a plexiglass, and it's
Oh, he's
uh,
lightning on everything. I love that.
yeah,
I love that part of the movie. Throughout the entire movie, he does the same
I
things over and
and it's just
it,
it's like the
it
small as he's coming up the stairs to his apartment, he's talking to himself, and as
oh
he's
yeah.
getting close, as he's the camera stays at the top of the steps and follows him to the door, but his voice is at the same volume. And again, it's a nitpick.
Yeah.
It just grinds my gears, man. And I just I
Yeah.
it's I had to put it back there. Sorry, bro. I don't even know why I shouldn't even be
Yep. It's a
apologizing to you.
no, it's a bad take. You should apologize.
It's a bad.
Bad take. Um
And well, in
Elliot
the first,
Gould, I mean, it's very different from the books. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the book, so I have a particular vision in my head of Philip Marlowe and how he speaks, and um, Bogey played him first, so that's kind of who I imagine as Philip Marlowe.
yeah,
But I think Elliot Gould, he plays it kind of quirky.
yeah,
Again, with the lighting the match in different places throughout the entire movie. And then he uses the phrase, "That's okay with me," several times, and kind of different variations of that saying. It's,
yeah,
and it's a labyrinth. I mean, it's classic noir where, you think one thing is going on the whole time, and then at the end, it's kind of all undone, and you get to figure out what actually happened. And honestly, it was a surprise cameo from Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I noticed that, dude. I wrote that in my notes. Well,
I
because
have him
the
in
very
I have him in bold letters. Arnold.
yeah, I don't think I wrote them in bold, but yeah, definitely wrote that in my notes. But the very first time I saw The Long Goodbye was at the TCM Film Festival back in 2016, and Elliot Gould was there, and I was
Oh
fucking
no way.
hammered when I watched it, so I didn't really remember too much of it, but I remember as I was watching, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's why I didn't like it all that much." Even my drunk ass, like something about it, and it was like you said. I mean, you said it perfectly with Elliot Gould. He was just quirky, I guess,
Yeah.
not who I would have envisioned. And this is one of those. I honestly think
It's
there's a lot of
it's one of
directors on.
those actor choices, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it. I kind of feel like there's a lot of directors and actors and other movies on our list that could have made that a better movie, and I think that to
Yeah.
me was what made it the weakest movie on the list. Again, not a bad movie. There's a lot of things I loved about the movie, but when we come in, and I'll mention this in some of the other movies, like, do we just have a lot of fucking great movies on this list, dude?
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
have to put it at a spot, and that's where I kind of felt The Long Goodbye should be was at
I
10.
I mean,
But
I
I
thought
guess
the
it
camera work was great, where it's constantly panning left and right, zooming in and out. There are times where, someone's behind some glass and they kind of use the reflections for the characters in the foreground, but yet they zoom in and you can see the
yeah,
character in the background, and just, yeah, looking through glass. And I,
yeah.
I get it. I'm disappointed, but let's move on. No.
Well, where did you have it, bro?
I actually had it at 8. So
Oh, okay.
ag-
Okay. So,
again, just a lot of great movies on here. It's going to be tough to, we can't put all of them in the top 5, right? So
well, so what did you do? You want to put Alcatraz at 10, The Long Goodbye at 9?
yeah,
Does that work?
and then well, it depends. What did you have for 9?
I had The Last Picture Show actually, and this was one of those
Hey,
movies where. Oh, did you have it at 9?
I have it at 9. So Long Goodbye
Nice, dude.
automatically
All
moves
right.
up to 8.
Okay. Yeah, because it's just not a lot of. I mean, I see the brilliance in the movie, and it's one of those
Yeah,
similar to The Long Goodbye. The first time I watched it, oh, dude, it was like back when I was at Fort Bragg. I went on this huge like 70's run. That's where I saw Chinatown, Cuckoo's Nest, all these like Apocalypse Now. I saw all those movies in this fucking summer at Fort Bragg or whatever, but I was hammered when I watched Last Picture Show, but I remembered when we were doing the pod, I was like, dude, I remember that being a really like good movie, even if I was hammered, but and
yeah,
then when I bought it on Amazon, I watched it and I was like, oh man, dude, I wonder if there's enough time to like change it because it's fucking
yeah.
depressing as fuck, dude. And I'm usually
It
drawn to those kind of movies, dude. Actually, I usually enjoy those kind of films, but that yeah, not a
yeah,
lot of good happens and it's just depressing.
it,
So
it it is, and like the main theme of the entire movie is infidelity.
yeah,
Eh,
yeah,
you
no,
know,
it's
and
true.
it's all about sex and infidelity, and I kind of, high schoolers coming of age movie. I could see that. I thought it was hilarious in the first couple of minutes. It's constantly, you guys need to learn how to tackle. Like,
Yeah,
you don't know how to
everybody.
tackle, and the main character Sonny's just like, yeah, I know. Like,
Dude, because I started watching it for a little bit today because I was just cleaning up and stuff, and that dude just walks up to the booth and just stares at him and shakes his head and walks away because it's like,
yeah,
is somebody going to say you can't tackle again?
yeah.
and just
I was waiting for one more time. Yeah, I thought it was definitely coming. But yeah, I mean, infidelity and seduction, and you know,
boredom and loneliness,
losing the
really. That's
virginity.
yeah, yeah,
And I get it's based in the 50s, so it was a different time. What I did enjoy is some of the dialogue of the 50s. Sometimes movie makers and directors, screenwriters will make a period piece, and the characters will speak like they do today.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
and that's kind of the one thing about The Long Goodbye that I didn't mention either, is it's a book that was written in 1953, and the movie was released in 73 and takes place in the 70s. So,
yeah, yeah.
things are going to change, but it's the dialogue that gets me, and I enjoyed it. Not sure I'll watch it again unless we do another podcast on The Last Picture Show, but
Well,
no, I
and
think it's fair. We have that at 9.
yeah, and dude, I think Ben Johnson, Cloris Leachman, and Ellen Burstyn both have like phenomenal monologues. I mean, it's got like we've
Yeah,
said, there's greatness in the movie, but when it comes to this this pod, so many other terrific ones are ahead of it, and
yeah.
that's just the way it is. So
And it's a kind of neat footnote. I think it was Sybil Shepherd's first movie.
yeah, yeah, because she was modeling, I think, before this. I think she had
Yeah.
auditioned for a movie, but I don't think she was in the movie actually.
So
But
yeah, and like you said, from now on, 7 on up. I mean, it's just going to be great movie after great movie, and
yeah,
this is going to be pretty interesting. So at 7, I think you'll be disappointed with me now. I have The Network.
no, I had that too. So
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
you're gonna be
first time,
disappointed. Nope, nope, I'm good.
first time I watched it, um, and I enjoyed it. And like you said, you thought I would. It reminded me a lot only because I saw The Newsroom, you know, written by Aaron Sorkin on
Yeah,
HBO. I A lot of times it was just, oh man, The Newsroom totally homage this at this point, and the themes of the movie are very similar for the main character Jeff Daniels in The Newsroom. How he kind of freaks out in the first episode, in the first scene, and then just goes on kind of a tirade on, hey, we need to start giving people real fucking news and not
yeah, yeah.
there's so much else going on, and it was really, like I said, I'd never seen it. So in that first scene, where he goes off and says he's going to kill himself on the next show, and everybody in the back room is like, "Hey, did you see this show the other day?" And oh yeah, we'll cut to commercial, and like nobody
Yeah, nobody notices,
except for
and
the
they're like,
one guy in the corner is like
"Did you hear
confused,
what
and then
Howard
someone
said?"
else burst in. Did anybody else just hear this? Like
Howard said- Oh yeah,
it,
and there's
it
like, "We they wouldn't know what the fuck is going on." Like, yeah,
yeah.
dude, it's just Patty Chayefsky did great with that, and he won the Oscar for it, deservedly so. And of course,
Um,
Peter Finch did a great job and also won the Oscar. But I think William Holden had a lot of great scenes. I think he had the best. I mean, I think he took the role knowing that it was kind of Peter Finch's movie, but he had a lot of great scenes with Faye Dunaway for sure. But
yeah.
and it
And
wasn't like
it's a
over
lot of guys
directed.
in the movie that I recognize, just as older men and women.
Yeah, yeah,
I think a lot of big names are in there. It kind of took me a while, and I had to go into IMDb a few times. Like, I know this actor. Oh, he was in this movie that I really love, but it was released 25 years later,
yeah, yeah.
and I didn't think the voiceover. I didn't care for it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it.
Yeah, I mean, I like voiceover. Obviously, some of my favorite movies: Goodfellas, Fight Club. Um,
Yeah,
but if I didn't think it added anything to the movie. They could have had some exposition dialogue where they explained what was going on instead of the voiceover.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I kind of thought it was a little lazy writing on that part, but entertaining as hell. And the view on corporations is spot on 39 years later.
yeah, for sure. I, speaking of the narration, when the very end of the movie, when it's like Howard Beale, the first anchor killed because of bad ratings, and then
Yeah,
it like cuts to the
yeah, kind of
oh
a sad
shit,
ending.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah, number six, I had the Sting.
I did too, dude.
Man, we're spot on, man. Loving it. It's not very
I'm kind of
entertaining,
surprised
but
actually. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of. Oh, I think
well,
it'll get
when we get
probably
to
a
the
little
top,
more
I think
interesting. Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna
yeah.
we're gonna have to debate a little bit. But this wasn't the first time I had seen the Sting. I
Oh,
purchased
really?
it,
Shit.
I think, like 10 years ago, and watched it in my house, and I loved it. I thought it was entertaining. I really liked the twist at the end, but I hadn't watched
Mhm.
it since then. So rewatching it now, um, just an enjoyable movie.
Yeah, I wrote down in
Hey,
my
the
notes when I
first
was.
scene, it got me because I'd forgotten how that first scene went down, and as soon as the guy takes off and gets in the cab, I just made the easiest 5,000, and then he
Yeah,
realizes nothing's there. I'm like,
it's nothing.
oh,
It's
well,
just
sleight of
tissue. Yeah.
hand.
Hey, what makes you
Yeah,
think you can
and I
trust him? He didn't do
I
shit.
didn't. Yeah,
Oh, dude,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
yeah. That's I wrote down in my notes, dude. I absolutely fucking love this movie, dude. Obviously, I put it on my list, but it's just one of those
Yep.
everything about it, the music, the acting, the way George Hill directed it. Of course, it's considered one of the best shooting scripts ever made because of, like you said, the surprise ending. And I honestly, like, before we recorded, I was trying to like uh prepare myself for maybe you having it towards the back. And so I was like, well, shit. The only way I would even be okay with it going past seven is if you saw the ending coming. Like if you predicted that it was going to happen. And that's when I was like, well, shit, if he saw it happen, that kind of ruins the movie a little bit. Not completely, but it would have sucked if you anticipated that shocking
Yeah.
ending. But
I mean, I'd already seen it once, so I did remember the twist. So
yeah,
those kinds of movies, the first viewing is the most powerful. Um,
yeah, for sure.
and I kind of had seen it coming a little bit, but it kind of reminded me of North by Northwest and that ending.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah.
And I think when
A little
we talked
twist.
about
Yeah.
that movie, I'd said, hey, it would have been better had they not showed us that they were going to do this, a little trickery sleight of hand at the end. Instead,
Mhm.
they told us about it, so it wasn't a surprise ending. We're here, they didn't, and I thought it was very well very well crafted.
It's,
But
it's awesome.
one thing kind of bugged me about the movie. So they're out for Robert Redford this whole time. Now they don't know what he looks like. But
Hmm.
then when he's talking to Lonigan about, double crossing Paul Newman,
Right.
and they're riding in the car, they drop him off at his apartment, and then Lonigan's goons try to kill him. So how did they not put together that Robert Redford was the man that they were looking for the whole time? And then they continue to
No, if
go
you
on with the double
if you
crossing.
if you remember, I think they Paul Newman hooks him up with an apartment because when he puts the paper into the door, I think he's
Yeah,
got two apartments because uh, Charles Durning's
or maybe
Schneider finds him, and I think that's his actual apartment. But I think the one where he puts the piece of paper and closes the door, I think that's the one that uh, Paul Newman hooks him up with. But shit, you might be right. That might be a fuck up that I've
yeah,
never paid
because
attention to.
I was watching it late night, so I didn't want to go back and rewind even though it would have taken 10 seconds. But I could be wrong in the fact that maybe they dropped him off somewhere and then Robert Redford ended up walking to the apartment, so they didn't know where he lived.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, it's a fun movie, and I would be very interested to know if Paul Newman were doing those sleight of hand card tricks himself,
He wasn't. No.
because they just show his hands, and they kind of cut, and then he does one more, and they pan up to his face, and I was like, damn, I don't know if Paul Newman's really that good with a deck of cards or
No.
not, but
It's unfortunate, but no, it wasn't him. I
yeah,
well, I mean, shit, I mean, I heard it from another podcast that I heard like 6 months ago before we had even started this pod, and I feel like I remember them saying that it wasn't his. But
yeah.
shit,
And it
with
kind
my
of gave me
memory
some
here,
Color of Money vibes when Paul Newman is talking down to Redford, just kind of way he talks down to Tom Cruise and Color
yeah,
of Money.
yeah. I haven't
And
seen Color
Paul
Money in
Newman,
years, dude.
just
Yeah,
one of the best of all time. So,
yeah, yeah,
all right, here's where I think we might be getting into the nitty gritty
yeah.
of the
Maybe.
pod and some disagreements. Number
Okay,
5, I had Jaws.
me too.
All right, maybe not, folks. Maybe it's gonna go exactly how we didn't want.
Yeah, I mean, shit. I even wrote it's similar to the Sting, man. I think Spielberg it's pretty damn close to a perfect movie, but
Yeah,
in the end, it's a movie about a fucking killer shark. So I think that maybe dilutes the story a little bit. Even though this was this was one of the movies that actually it was the first movie that I remember being completely obsessed with. Like, I mean, I was watching Jaws all the time. I think I first saw it when I was like 10 or something, but yeah, that was because I obviously we did that childhood
it's a
pod a few
classic
weeks
rewatch.
ago. Yeah, and I don't remember
Yep.
rewatching those movies like I do Jaws, and I just
Yeah.
yeah, it's another one of
Um,
everything about it. Fucking
but
love
again,
everything
I would
about
have had the same argument.
it. What's up,
I would
bro?
have had the same argument about Robin Hood, where this is not a child movie.
No,
Just because you watched it
I
in your childhood. I don't know
I
a
mean I
lot of
was 10,
5,
but
6-year-olds going to Jaws like, yeah, I love seeing people get eaten by sharks.
well, to be
um,
fair,
and,
I think
and I
like I
think,
said, I was
I
10.
mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, well, but correct me if I'm wrong, and I'd have to go back and watch all of Steven Spielberg's movies, but I mean, this has to be, if not one of the most fucked up first scenes, and
Yeah, I mean it's
like
pretty
one of the
violent.
bloodiest scenes that Steven Spielberg. Yeah, it's. I mean, I literally wrote down, "Fuck the blood."
You just
Like
I was Jesus.
there's there's just so much blood coming up when that kid's attacked. I guess that's the second attack. The girl in the
Yeah,
first one
yeah.
is. But holy moly, like that's a lot of blood.
I think that
And
was looking through the reviews. I think that was one of the big issues was that it was PG-13 and it was so scary and so violent. They were like, well, I don't PG-13
well,
might be a
no,
little.
I think it was rated PG
Oh,
because I
did I say
think back then
PG-13?
it was
Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah. It was
only.
only
I mean, they
R
only
and
had the
PG. Yeah, right, right.
yeah, they had G, PG, and R. And
Right,
for
right.
this to be a parental guidance suggested, like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
definitely should be. And okay, so the whole premise of the movie is we're trying to kill the shark,
right.
and it's the main villain, right? It's the
Hmm,
one
hmm.
causing all the ruckus. But watching it, I kind of think the mayor is the real villain of the movie.
I mean, yeah, he's the
It,
human antagonist of the movie,
pe-
but
People are getting eaten on his beaches, and he's like, why don't you go in the water? Like
first,
in residents, like, hey, why aren't you swimming? Well, why
yeah.
do you think?
Well, I'm trying to let the I've just put sunblock on, and I
Yeah,
want it to
exactly.
absorb before it goes. Well, the story, he was pressured. I guess he owed the mob a lot of money, and I think that's in the book. That's a bigger story where they
Yeah,
he had to pay off the mob, and so in order to pay him off, they had to keep all the businesses open, the beaches open, all this other shit. But he still is. You're right. Even without that backstory, he's still the antagonist for
yeah. And I think
the human element.
I think this movie, one of the most iconic lines in movie history with, you're going to need a bigger boat,
Yeah.
and the music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
The
it
score
just,
by
and
John
even,
Williams. Yeah.
yeah, even rewatching it, John Williams also did the music for The Long Goodbye.
I did
Um,
write that down in my notes as well, dude. I noticed that in the
and,
credits.
and it's just, I mean, I mean, just watching
So
it
simple.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so simple and yet so eerie.
Yeah.
And
Because I
it had
remember.
a great jump scene that I didn't remember. And I don't, it's hard pressed for a movie to make me jump, even like
Hmm.
horror movies, because I can always see it come in, or the music changes, or goes away, or the camera pans, and I'm like, oh, here it comes. But when they find the downed boat and I think it's the dead body, like
Ben Gartner's
comes out
boat.
of
Yeah.
nowhere, Jesse literally jumped like out of her seat.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, we were watching it together, and she like jumped up and like made a little sound, like it got her good.
Well, going back to the music, John Williams just played that theme on the piano for Spielberg for the first time, and he only used two fingers and went dun 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 dun, and he goes, "That's it? Are you fucking kidding me? Like that's all? That's
Like,
the
are you
theme of
not
the movie?
trying
What are you?"
today?
Yeah, dude. You know how much shit I had to put up with to make this fucking film, and that's the best you came up with was boom. Oh, dude, it's so great
Can you
though.
put a little
No,
effort into it, please?
yeah, but no, it's a great score. Like I said, I know I'm repeating myself, but I loved everything about it.
Yep. Yeah, and Quint, his death scene is great. Ah,
Yeah,
ah,
he got a
and
great
just
scream, dude.
just like sliding into his mouth, like he couldn't hold on. The boat wasn't even tipped up that far. Like, come on,
Well,
how you
speaking of
fall into a
Quint,
giant shark's mouth like that?
yeah, and I mean of Quint and Robert Shaw's performance. I mean, the Indianapolis
Yep.
scene was incredible,
Oh yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Still,
Well, and
that's an iconic scene. One of the best
that's
monologues or
kind of like the
stories.
payoff. That's kind of the payoff between the two characters, um, Quint and Hooper, because they're going back and forth. Um, he's giving him a hard time about being prissy, and he's giving Quint a hard time about being, a grumpy old fisherman. And
Yeah.
they have some back and forth, which is really entertaining. And then it all kind of comes to a head with that story. And, they're going over their different scars that they have, and then leading up to that monologue by him. Yeah, just great movie making. One of the best movies again of all time. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
if someone's going to mention Spielberg, they're going to mention Jaws.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
listening and doing research, this was like a big thing when it was released. Like people stopped going to the beach for a while.
Hmm. And it was. I mean,
Like people
this
in
was a
real
movie
life,
you went.
like I don't
Yeah.
want to get eaten.
Yeah. I mean, you went and saw this movie 3 or 4 times, dude. This the biggest
Yeah,
movie ever made up until Star Wars. Yeah. It's
yeah, and I think
the
I
first.
think it had made like they were surprised it made 100 million, and then it ended up making like 350.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the first summer blockbuster too. It kind of created that summer
Yeah.
blockbuster.
Um. Okay, so maybe now we'll get to some drama.
Could be, yeah.
Could be. I have Cuckoos at 4.
All right, I had
Yep.
Chinatown.
Yeah, I figured.
But I mean,
I kind of figured you would go that way, and I kind of think that you thought I would go my way too. So, um,
but what did you have it
I mean,
to skip
Cuckoos is
three?
it's Godfather 1.
Oh, no, that's not gonna work. That ain't gonna
That's
work.
not right. It's not
No,
right.
that's not right.
I
That's
mean,
not right.
Cuckoo's Nest obviously critically acclaimed, swept the Oscars.
I mean, believe it or
It,
not, that it was actually a pretty big hit. That was actually, I mean, Jaws was
yeah,
the big movie because it came out in 1975, but Cuckoo's Nest was also a top 10 highest grossing movie of all time as well, up until obviously plenty of movies surpassed it over the years.
yeah,
But yeah, that's yeah, I had it at two. I had it at two. Did
okay.
you? Yeah.
So I mean, Jack's performance.
I
I mean,
think Jack
phenomenal. What can
gives
you say? It's
yeah,
just
he gives the better performance. And my only argument, well, actually, to be fair, if you would have had Chinatown at two and Cuckoo's Nest at four, I probably would have. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Damn it, I don't want to go too far because I remember as I was making this list, I even wrote down in my notes that I kind of talked myself out of having Cuckoo's Nest at two, but I wanted to sneak it in to see if you would be good with it. You know what I mean? Because I think
yeah.
I would be okay with Chinatown at two.
Um. Well, you know, I love Chinatown.
Yeah, yeah,
It's I think for a long time, Goodfellas and Chinatown were back and forth, and then I was introduced to Heat
yeah, yeah. Long time ago.
as
Yeah,
like my favorite movie, and it's kind of always oscillating between Goodfellas, Chinatown, and Heat as my favorite movie. Um, but again, there are some flaws with Chinatown. People, it wasn't as well received as Cuckoos and some of the other ones on this list, but
yeah,
I'm a sucker for noir. I said it before with The Long Goodbye. Um, it's got a good place in my heart just because I love who done it, and
yeah, yeah,
movies and books that start out with the protagonist going on one mission and then it ends up it's actually a bigger mystery and he kind of goes down the rabbit hole and some of my favorite line, she crossed her legs too quick, what's it to you? And
yeah, yeah. I mean, Chinatown's. I mean, we probably have three movies in this top 10 that the scripts are considered like the greatest of all time. You got Chinatown,
right.
Network, and The Sting. And that's where Chinatown, I kind of gave the edge to it. Like I said, I put Cuckoo's because you know how much I love Cuckoo's Nest. I think it's
Yep.
obviously, I think it's one of the greatest of all time. I put it high, but then again, as I was comparing the main thing that I was having issues with, I suppose. I mean, god damn it, even now I'm like still not I still don't want to move it past that, but I mean, it's got everything. It's got some heart to it. There's a metaphor about communism when it comes to Cuckoo's Nest, about the individual against the institution.
Hmm.
Great performances, great direction. Because all I mean, yeah, God, it's
Yeah,
hard for me.
Christopher Lloyd throwing heat, man.
Yeah, and Danny DeVito too as Martini.
Yeah, I mean, but
I bet
Christopher
a dime.
Lloyd, like watching it, he's just
Yeah,
always right there with something smart ass to say and funny and how he screams with the cigarette in his
yeah, dude.
in his jeans or whatever. And rewatching it when Jack gets shot um,
It's
that first
it's a
time, and
solid
he's all
performance,
talking,
dude.
"Hey, what's that for? What's this? Oh, well, this is for you're not biting your tongue off." And
Yeah,
then
it's conducted.
they hit that button, and the acting in that scene. I mean,
I mean,
Jack
dude,
is
it's
displaying some real pain.
it's one of the great performances in cinema, dude. I mean that, and we
Yeah,
have
I mean,
another one
I'm
coming up with
like cringing in
Brando.
pain with him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's conducted.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's
that will do ya. You
and
know.
Nurse Ratchet is yeah.
Yeah, she's
Um,
one of the biggest
okay,
villains in
so
cinema too. Yeah. Well, I'm guessing
Yeah, she's the
since
devil, man.
she's the devil, I'm gonna
She
go
is.
ahead and predict that you have part two and one and Godfather at two.
Yeah, number one, Godfather 2.
Hmm.
I mean, it, it. I mean, I think it's arguably the greatest movie of all time.
But that's the thing. I mean, I wrote it. I mean,
Just
obviously, my opinion isn't the absolute know-it-all type, but to me, it's not even a debate if which one's better, one or two. To me, it's obviously one because you can talk about one by itself all fucking day long, but you can't talk about two without talking about one. And when you put it into a perspective that okay, two what makes it actually a movie that I love but not superior to one is it a prequel or the sequel? But
yeah,
and I think the main thing with two, and I think yeah, you kind of mentioned it earlier that as far as a big picture screenplay, it was way ahead of its time. It was, I think that's what that part two holds the upper hand of one in that regard. But when you think about the characters, the performances, because yes, De Niro does great, but he's mimicking Brando, and who
right.
plays it better, Brando or De Niro?
Well, I mean,
Obviously,
you'd have to go
Brando.
with Brando. Yeah, exactly.
And when
But
you think about
and I love Robert De Niro.
oh, for sure. I mean, Oscar it was a great performance. That too. I mean, it's but when you think about it, kind of looks the same as GF1, which I know that's common in sequels, dude. And I know they differentiate between the prequel. The prequel's a little lighter, foggier, and then when you go to the sequel, Michael's storyline, it goes back to the basic theme of the guy. I just think two takes too much away from one. And not just that, but you also don't have a lot of likable characters in part
Yeah.
two. And I
Well,
understand
that's what
these
I was.
guys are all bad guys. You know what I mean? They're not
Yeah.
mobsters, aren't. I mean, I'm sure they can be good people, but they choose not to be at times. But
Yeah, that's
the
definitely not someone that a majority of people would idolize and say, "Hey, I want to be
yeah,
just like." I mean, Michael is he's so ruthless in two,
yeah, he's not.
and
I wrote in my notes that he's not an anti-hero. He's the villain in this movie, and I think
yeah,
as
totally. You,
far as
you
his
don't even really
performance,
want to root for him.
yeah, I mean, as far as his performance goes, I still give the edge to what he did in one because he has such a. You can see him transitioning from the good soldier to the ruthless killer, dude.
I think
I guess what
the
I'm getting at for this whole thing, and you've even repeated this before that uh, you find one more enjoyable, but you think two is the
I
greater.
do,
And I've even told, and I've rebutted with, well, if movies are this close together, then being rewatchable has to give the other movie the edge, I guess. But
okay, and I get that, and yeah, I have said that. It's I mean, I'll pop in one and just have fun.
yeah, yeah,
And there's Clemenza is such a lovable character, and oh Michael, why don't you tell that girl you love her? And he's
a little
making
bit
the
on my
sauce, and
heart. Yeah,
and Jimmy Kahn, the famous Phantom Punch scene aside,
yeah,
just
yeah.
the
Phantom
energy that he
Punch.
has in the whole movie, and he goes from 0 to 100, and same with Michael in two, where he's like has that scene with um, Pantagile where in my home
Yeah, yeah.
where my
I
wife
mean, yeah,
sleeps,
yeah,
and then he
yeah,
comes right back down. He's like, "Where my children come and play with their toys."
yeah. I mean,
He's
dude, it's
going
a
up
great
and down,
performance, man. I'm not taking that
and
away, but I just think with and not just everything I was mentioning about the performance and the way it was shot. I mean, it kind of looks the same, and I never really,
yeah.
I,
Well,
I
we haven't
just
mentioned Gordon Willis's name yet,
that's true, but yeah,
and that, and
it's
that's a part of it. But then you also go to Roger Ebert's review, where he says it's the music that makes the movies so powerful.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that as well. But Gordon Willis shooting all the lights from above, and you never really see people's eyes when in these certain scenes, and it's just kind of shadows talking back and forth. Um, I enjoy two because I do like the back and forth with the early stages of Don Vito, and then jumping back into Michael. And I think there's a little more. I've said this. I love a good mystery, and in
Yeah,
two, you're trying to find out, who opened the drapes, and Michael, why are the drapes open? And it's
yeah,
okay, who set them up, right? And who's going on? When in one, you know who is against him. At the very end, you're thinking, who's going to try to set him up, and who's the traitor. Um, but I mean, and two just gives us so much. I don't know about more lines, but I
no,
know
it
it
does
was you,
definitely does.
Fredo.
There's way more iconic lines in one than two.
Yeah, and it's funny because again, I was watching them with Jesse, and she had never watched Godfather before, and we're sitting there watching it, and all these lines, take, leave the gun, take the cannoli, and she's like,
Yeah, yeah.
"Oh yeah, who hasn't heard that before?" And
I'm gonna make him an
it's
offer I
it's
can't refuse. Yeah,
yeah,
he's got
and like those
it.
lines where she was like, "Oh, I've always heard those lines. I knew they were from the movie, but now I'm actually seeing them in the and she was so uh, I can get on board with Godfather 1 being at number 1.
And my only yeah, and dude, and this is my fourth revision of the list because I didn't have God. Like I pretty much put the Godfather at number one to kind of appease, just to try, kind of be a people pleaser, I guess. Because there's one reason why I don't have the Godfather. I mean, it would be in my top 20 greatest of all time, but the whole reason it's not like in my top 10 is because I completely omit the Sicilian scene. I don't I don't think I've rewatched that since I first saw The Godfather. It's just one of
Oh, really?
those, and it's because it cuts. I like the story about the family. That's what
Yeah.
the movie is supposed to be about, is the family. And when it cuts to Michael, it's Michael's story, and I just don't. Obviously, it fits. It's important to the storyline in Michael's arc, but I still, it's hard for me to put it in the greatest of all time list. But like I said, I kind of put it at the one spot because yeah, I don't know.
People pleaser.
I just didn't want to deal with people's shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, dude.
And it is kind of, with
Excuse me.
Apollonia, it does kind of, it just comes out of nowhere. It doesn't really fit into the rest of the story. Obviously you have to have something go on when when he leaves the country. So there has to be some sort of storyline in there. But for him to fall in love with her at first sight, and then you don't even hear her talk for the first couple of scenes until
Monday, Tuesday,
she's like,
Wednesday,
a Monday,
Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, and then a big thing that I thought was kind of left out of Godfather 1 is, why didn't he come back for revenge against one of his bodyguard? I can't remember his name, but the bodyguard who set the bombs in the car that blew up Apollonia.
Yeah,
I read that it was a scene, and they like storyboarded it, and they might have even shot it, and then it just didn't fit. Like he'd have to go back to Italy at the end of the movie, and again it would just kind of take it out. Um, but yeah, it's, I mean, more iconic lines in Godfather 1. I like the mystery of 2, and the heartbreaking scene with Fredo and how he's so,
yeah.
I'm not like everyone says, like dumb,
I'm smart. Not like
I'm
everybody
smart.
says. He's
I
that's
was
such a
passed
like
over.
yeah,
Is that how I wanted it?
dude. He fucking rocks in that.
Yeah.
As weak as his character is, it's freaking incredible watching that performance, dude.
And
But
Michael's
not enough for me
making
to kind of
eyes, and it's
yeah,
like, I don't want anything to happen to him as long as my mother's alive. And then
yeah,
two scenes later, Mama Corleone dies, and you're like, oh, well, there goes Fredo.
yeah, exactly.
But then in 2, I really love the early scenes, and how Vito kind of got
Yeah, it's
his
his origin
family and his
story. Yeah,
territory.
dude. Yeah,
Yeah, it's great. And I think Robert De Niro speaks like 10 words in English in the whole movie.
yeah, I know. Yeah,
He's just speaking Italian the whole time. And with Clemenza, they're like, "Hey, let us handle this. You don't know you." And he's like, "Ah, I'll handle it. You give me
yeah.
some money." And he kind of
It
goes
sounds pretty
under,
good.
and I just want to wet my beak, with the black
Oh
hand.
right.
And
Yeah, yeah,
um But yeah, Godfather. I mean, Godfather One. I'll definitely. I've seen more. I've definitely seen more times than Godfather Two. It, like we said, it's a more fun movie. All these characters are bad, but Vito has morals in the sense that racketeering and gambling and women, but no drugs.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the gambling's a harmless vice. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
blame some of the people in this room.
and that I cannot forgive.
And yeah, Brando gives one of the best performances in movie history. With the cat in the first scene, and that wasn't in the script. He literally like, found it wandering around on the set and just decided, hey, I'm
Yeah,
gonna have this cat in my hand and I'm gonna fuck with it the whole time.
yeah,
And
yeah. Because I
maybe one of the best opening lines of any movie ever is, "I believe in America.
America. Yeah, dude. I
It
mean,
beats her
it's
like a dog,
like an animal.
like an animal." Um, yeah, and like you said, I think other than the rewatchability of one compared to two, it is a fascinating character transition that you watch in one with Michael, and
Yeah,
that's a true story.
yeah. I mean, I just like I said, I just don't see. I mean, I can see it, dude. And this is that whole freaking that whatever you want to call it, freaking rant I went on wasn't a bash Godfather three,
No,
Godfather Part Two. I had Godfather Part Two at number three.
yeah,
So I mean, it's not like I'm saying it's a shitty movie or anything. It's obviously one of the greatest sequels ever made. And again, I agree that it's one of the greatest movies ever made. But like, yeah, I think for the '70s, and I mean, dude, I when you have people like in reference to Godfather One, when people like Spielberg and even Stanley Kubrick are debating whether or not to even continue directing because they
yeah.
didn't
Like,
think
where
they
do
could
we go
top
from
it.
here?
Yeah, they didn't. They
Yeah,
truly nobody had made a movie of that genre like that before, and it's just
yeah. It was
yeah,
groundbreaking.
yeah. It was. And I always I
And then
when you mentioned the mixed reviews, I thought it got great reviews, but then again, I mean, we weren't around back then, but
yeah, of
like I
course.
yeah, obviously
And
it was a
then
huge hit financially, way more. It was the biggest movie ever. Well, financial. I think Gone with the Wind still is the most attended movie ever made. Even to this
yeah,
day, it is. But I know The
but
Godfather was
and
like
it
the
just had
highest
a,
grossing
a
movie of all
a
time.
troubleshooting with Francis, going back and forth, and there's a story where, no, I think that's actually two, but he's a very uh I can't a polarizing figure, I guess, Francis Ford
Oh
Coppola,
yeah,
with the
yeah,
the people who work for him and how obsessive he is, and um painstakingly at times. And then I cannot finish this pod without at least saying, "Listen here, my crop Mick friend.
oh
Johnny
shit.
Fontaine never gets that movie." I love that scene. It's so early in the movie. I always forget how early it is. But with Robert Duvall and Jack Waltz going back and forth,
Well,
um,
yeah, and like,
I'm
sorry to
German
interrupt, but
Irish.
like Duvall, like when he's like, "Hey, I admire your pictures very much," and Walsh like just looks at him but shakes his hand, like, "What the fuck? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah."
Who are
It's
you? Why are you?
dude,
You
I
know.
just called you. I just insulted you, but it's like, yeah, I admire your pictures very much. Oh, okay,
And then the horse head reveal is fucking. I mean, I'm
a
sure
real
back
horse.
then,
Yeah,
because again, that's another thing in pop culture that's referenced so much. By the time I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is where the horse head comes in. But
yeah,
being released, and God, I couldn't imagine seeing it in theaters for the first time ever, and that scene, and he just yells so loud, and then it
yeah,
kind of it zooms out, each time, and it's on the outside of the house, and you can still hear him, and it's just like, wow, that's
yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's and then it fades into Vito, and Brando just has that smirk on his face, like, "Huh,
yeah,
nice." That's
like, yep, I did that, I
yeah.
did that. Um, okay, well, I think Godfather One at number one all time. Um,
Can
Godfather
we
2.
can we just change it up? I really, for some odd reason, it's really. What does he say on My Fellow Americans, Jaron? This really stinks, my clam. Or what does he say? What does he? I can't
Yeah.
remember what he says. Do you know what he
something
says?
something to that effect.
I think I just made up two
No,
words that didn't
stick
make
to
any
my
sense.
craw.
But
No, that's someone else. But
now Shamu the Killer Hick has the other. But I really don't want one and two next to each other for some odd reason. Let's just be a little original, you know. I mean, like I said, I'm okay with putting Chinatown at two, and you love Chinatown. You shouldn't want to
I love
fight it too
Chinatown.
much.
It's I well, but then we're gonna have to put Cuckoos at 4.
Yeah, that's okay. Like I said, there's a part of me that shit unless your heart tells you to put Cuckoo's Nest at two. I feel that's what you want to do. You're like, no, that's okay.
I
That's
I no, I mean personally for me, I enjoy Chinatown more than I enjoy watching Cuckoos.
okay.
Um, because I love to go along for the ride every time, and it's
Yeah,
what's
which
going. And
I
Jack is
understand.
just such a fucking. I mean, he embodies JJ Gittes, and all of his little one-liners and quips, and you know
How does what does John Huston call him? Mr. Getz. Mr. Getz.
Mr. Gitz.
Yeah, Mr.
It's
Getz.
Gittes.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I one of the issues I had with Chinatown is it's kind of it's a little gross. The storyline, the incest. I feel like I have to take a fucking shower after I watch it sometimes, dude.
Yeah,
With Dunaway and
yeah.
how, and dude, John
She's my
Huston plays.
sister.
Yeah,
She's my
this
daughter.
is my
She's my
daughter.
sister and my daughter. And John Huston's like trying to get close to the little girl at the end and like trying to kiss
Oh,
her on
dude,
the
and like
cheek. And,
even how he puts his hands over her eyes, like it's just
yeah,
like it creeps me out, dude. You
it
know, I
is.
mean
And then it just
that was one of my issues with Chinatown. But again, as I was making this last revision, I was like, as I was trying to sneak in One Flew, but I was also like, which one's better, Cuckoo's Nest or Chinatown? And as I was comparing, I was like, shit, man, I just talked myself into putting Chinatown at two. But like I
yeah,
said, I put Cuckoo's Nest at two to try to see if you'd be cool with it. But
sneak it by the goalie there.
sneak it by
Um,
the hidden ball trick, you know?
well, and again, I mean, again, it's going to take the edge for me because I'm a big noir fan. I just love the
Yeah, yeah,
genre, and it's an all time classic. Like you said, it's one of the best scripts ever.
yeah. One of the most creative, original, yeah, scripts ever.
Yeah, not based off of a book. Which
Right.
okay, Cuckoo's at 4.
Yes. God part,
Okay,
part two at three.
yes,
Let's
sir.
pencil that in. Okay.
I have written it in ink. Actually, there's no erasing. There's no changing it. We have come
Oh,
up with our top 10 list.
and then on Facebook you see it changed. You
Yeah,
just do
someone just
your
like changed. Nope,
list. I'm
that's
like, no,
wrong.
that's not.
That's wrong. What is this fake news?
That's bullshit, dude.
All right. Well, to round off the podcast, we are going to go through our final top 10 because I'm sure people listening, if you're still listening at this point, a
Yeah,
little confused on the final arrangement. Number 10, Escape from Alcatraz. Number 9, The Last Picture Show. Number 8, The Long Goodbye. 7, Network. 6, Sting. 5, Jaws. 4, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. 3, Godfather Part 2. At number 2, Chinatown. And our number 1 for the 70s, the all time classic, Godfather 1.
yes.
And that
It's a good
concludes
list.
our broadcast day.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah, again, if you enjoy this podcast and Zach and I rambling on and on about the movies we love so much, please give us a follow and a like on Facebook and Spotify. And once we get around to it, maybe even Instagram and the
I
other
do have an
social media
Instagram.
networks.
I did set up the
Hey,
Instagram. I forgot I told you that, or I forgot to
yeah,
tell you
yeah, that's
that.
right.
I
That's
do
right.
have an Instagram page set up.
So, and
Well,
again,
Jaron,
I think, well, I think Zach is going to be releasing after he edits these. Um, so you'll be able to listen to, I think, 4 episodes if you are into us,
pretty
and it will
pretty
be
close.
on Spotify and all your other streaming. No, not all of them, but
Yeah, just Spotify and YouTube for now. We'll see how those go.
yeah, YouTube might pick us, or Amazon Prime might pick us up. Who knows?
Of course, yeah. I mean, well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Once again, thank you for listening. I'm Jaron Grawl. I'm with Zach Zokel, and we are a couple of average jives.
Take care, everybody.
Out.
Wrap. It's a wrap. Come back tomorrow. Fuck.